GMP Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MakoniSetupShop.com and learn why Makoni Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Live from virtual Illinois, we welcome race fans one and all to race number 3 of the Racecraft Outlaws Sprint Car Series from Racecraft TV. Hello one and all and welcome to the show. My name is Nolan Rempel here tonight with Ian Fisher beside me in the commentary booth and Joshua Lee once again working the cameras behind tonight's race. We get set to go racing once again for another round of 410 sprint car racing action. Ian, it's been a few weeks since we've been around here for the Outlaw Sprint Car Series as we get set to slow it back down after a couple of very high-speed tracks. It's time for Fairbury, one of the shortest tracks on the season. We're in for a fun night.
Oh, it should be a fun night. Hopefully these guys remember how to drive. You know, they've had a few weeks off, and it's been a tight battle so far. We have some of the best drivers in the the dirt oval racing discipline on iRacing in this series. It's really exciting to see who comes out every single week. It almost feels like an all-star race every single week that we come out here. Should be no different from Fairbury here tonight.
It's going to be a fun race indeed as we get set to, take you in right down to Fairbury Speedway over from the great globe above, and we'll take an eye on what this track looks like. And boy, this thing is tiny. It sits at a meager quarter mile of pure dirt, but it is wide, and that means we're going to be seeing a lot of 2, potentially 3 and 4 wide action even getting set for us for the next hour or so here of racing, as you got a few quicker tracks coming on up next after this, including the likes of the Eldora Speedway, which has long been known as to be one of the faster short tracks you can get out here on the iRacing service. And of course, what I like to dub the dirt version of Martinsville at Williams Grove Speedway for December 13th. And of course, to take that little break for Christmas and New Year's before we return to I-55 Speedway. So you know it's going to be a fun next few weeks for us here as we get set to go back racing after we had ourselves a couple of weeks throughout the middle of November there. Now, on top of that, you look down at your championship standings, and it is currently only 14 points separate Aiden Forster and Josh Edmondson, but it is a tie for not just the second place, but the 4th position as well. Ryan Avila currently sits 6 points back behind Sean Winkler and Josh Edmondson. He's tied with Vinny Tigner, and just 4 points behind them is the likes of Matthew Lind. So with your top 7 only separated by 30 points, you still got everything to play for up here in the field tonight.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, it's a little bit of an interesting dichotomy coming here this evening to Fairbury after coming from Port Royal and then going next week to Eldora. You kind of mentioned the differences in speed and how short this track is coming from where we were last time that we raced here in this series. So I do like the differences in tracks, especially in the oval short track racing circuit. No 2 tracks are the same. I mean, you get that in every type of racing, but I really think the differences in dirt racing really can play to the strengths of many different drivers, Nolan, and that's the exciting thing to watch here, especially when we go racing here tonight.
And qualifying currently underway here from the Fairbury Speedway, as actually just about every driver has already put down all of their qualifying laps. So that's going to make it a bit of an easy run then for us here tonight. The only driver that hasn't put down all of his laps is Eric Whitner, but he, of course, has already put down his first lap, but he's not on the racetrack anymore, so his second lap will be invalidated. So as I understand, we're going to be skipping over these last 2 minutes or so in qualifying here in just a little while, and I do believe we'll be set to go racing for, I think it'll just be the one heat race tonight. It will be just a single heat race before we get set to go race for 35 laps of racing action in your Makoni setup shop feature. So you're going to be in for a really fun race then tonight, and it's going to be a quick one as well. I'd reckon this race has potential to be shorter than, honestly, a half hour.
Yeah, it's short, sweet, to the point, get right to the feature, let's go racing. And then I kind of like these single heat events from time to time. Nolan, obviously not every single time you want a single heat, but it is interesting because it throws a whole new dynamic into the race tonight, as well as we see our starting grid here. All these drivers are going to be battling position in one single race, not multiple ones, so it's going to be very interesting.
Eric Whitner on pole position for heat race number 1 and only heat race number 1. With Evan McFarland, we'll line it up beside him on the front row as we get set to go race for heat race number 1 with Josh Fox and Paul Mikulicek down in 4th place. So they did 4th, 3rd, 5th. Dylan Baldwin in 6th. Matthew Lynn, Daniel Aish, Josh Evanson, and Sean Winkler around an exactly 10-car field. I do love round numbers that way, don't you?
Oh, yeah, round numbers are really nice. Either round numbers or intervals of 5 are my favorite, Nolan. So as long as you meet those two criteria, which often too they line up, I'm good to go.
Tell you what, there's nothing more that bugs me more than having yourself an 11-car grid. Because if you're a 1 car shorter, you'd have that one heat race, but now you have to split it up into a heat race of 5 and then a heat race of 6. But at least we get a full pack of 10 tonight for 10 laps of racing action. Pace cars down, and then green flags out. We're underway from Fairbury.
And what a jump there by Winkler so far in the 17, actually getting out to a huge lead here. We got trouble in the back, though.
Aiden Forster and Josh Fox both going around deeper in the background. They collected, it looked to me like to be the number 65 car back in the pack as well. No caution, though, in the heat race here. Up to the top side as Winkler, you saw, though, Josh Fox throwing it down the bottom, trying to make something happen, but Fox bobbles in turn 2. You went for Ed McFarland, now it's going to go to the top side, go to 2nd place in heat race number 1. Behind these guys, you've got the likes of Dylan Baldwin collected in the lap 1 melee, trying to get her on the outside, Josh Evanson.
Yeah, it's been a tough run for Baldwin so far this season. One car up and over. Who's that right there? Looks like that's Lindy, I believe.
That's Baldwin tumbling down the back straightaway. Wheel-to-wheel contact with Edmonton. Caesar kicked up into the catch fence, and he got tagged as well by the 65 as he went cartwheeling down the back straightaway.
Yeah, McFarland right here. We're doing a really good job trying to run down Whitner here. I don't think he's got enough time left in this race, but it's interesting to see how these fast drivers already moved all the way up to that wall here.
Moving up to the wall early on is where all the speed is. It's a very flat track on the bottom. It's even off camber right down by the tractor tires. But up top, that's where all the banking is. That's where all the speed is. And these drivers showing no qualms about flirting with that outside wall. Battle is on for that race lead. 2 laps left to go. Now 3/4 of a second separate Whitner from McFarland.
Yeah, McFarland got to the wall that last time by, but Whitner does have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with here. Looks like he's going to make no problem with it, though, in this first heat race.
Eric Whitner through turn numbers 3 and 4 wins the only heat race then of the evening, and that's going to leave McFarland back in 2nd place. Your field for heat race for the main event, with that is officially set on what has got to be one of the shortest heat races I've ever seen. Eric Whitner taking the heat race win by just 0.2 of a second. McFarland couldn't run him down, relegated down to that 2nd position. Matthew Lynn was in 3rd after being collected in the lap 1 incident. The 65 recovers to 4th with Josh Evanson in 5th, and in 4th and 6th, Sean Winkler rounds out the last of the cars on the lead lap. For there you got Daniel Aish, Josh Fox, and Dylan Baldwin.
Tough break for Baldwin. I was going to mention right before it happened, too, that all season long, Nolan, it just seems like he hasn't been able to catch a break. Hasn't been able to put a good run together, and it continues here this evening.
So I tell you what, that was a quick heat race, and we've got ourselves less than 5 minutes here before we go to green flag racing for what should be an exciting 35 laps of action then. And there was quite a bit of contact there in those initial 10 laps, so I have a feeling we're going to be seeing that yellow flag make a visit or two for these next 35 laps or so here coming on up in just a couple minutes. And as we continue to wait for the few minutes left here, warm up to round these things down as these guys try to work that track in. We're going to take a quick step back. We'll be back with more from Fairbury, Illinois in just a few.
UMP Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway and I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flags Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MakoniSetupShop.com and learn why Makoni Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Fairbury Speedway, where we get set to go racing for 35 laps of racing action in the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series from the Fairbury Speedway. Once again, my name is Old Rample, Ian Fisher beside me in the booth. And Ian, we were just talking about how much of a physical race it had been in that opening heat race. We know it's not going to be any better when we get down to these 35 laps here. How long do you reckon it'll be before we get that first caution flag that we're all waiting for?
I think we'll get at least a few laps in, Nolan, before we get into any kind of bait and bang. And, we saw a few of the drivers that were really the contenders get out to an early lead, and they were trying to chase each other down. I think where we saw most of the carnage was back in the pack. And I think there's still a possibility of that, but I do think everybody's going to be really careful here early in the feature race. They want to get to the end, so I don't think you'll see a lot of that beating and banging until it comes down to that pay window open up, maybe the last 15, 20 laps.
And a minute to go in warm-up here as we get set to go racing for our Makoni Setup Shop feature. The official setup shop of Rise Esports and partners with JR Motorsports. Makoni Setup Shop has the setups you need to succeed. From asphalt to dirt, Makoni Setup Shop has a professional team of builders for each series, whether it's street stocks at Charlotte or 410 sprint cars at Eldora, which is where we'll end up being just next week. And of course, then you'll have for pricing and plans, you head on over to MakoniSetupShop.com today. Makoni Setup Shop, they're our setups, but your victories, and they are the proud sponsors of the Makoni Setup Shop feature for the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series. Warm-up is complete. Let's take a rundown of what your starting grid's going to be looking like for as we get set to duke it out for 35 laps around this very tiny quarter-mile dirt track here from Fairbury, Illinois. On pole position, it'll be the likes of Eric Whitner with Evan McFarland starting beside him after he lost out by just 0.2 of a second on the heat race win. Matthew Lind is down in third, and Paul Mikolajczyk, after finding himself crashed in heat race 1 on the opening lap, finds himself recovering up to a nice 4th place. He'll start outside on row number 2. Josh Evanson is down in 5th place with Aiden Forster back in 6th to round out row number 3. Sean Winkler will be our 7th starter, way back there in 7th place. He was the last driver to finish on the lead lap back in heat race number 1. Daniel Age and Josh Fox both finished a lap down in your opening heat race. They start 8th and 9th respectively. Dylan Baldwin crashed out of the first heat race on just the 3rd lap of that race. He was 7 laps down. He starts way at the back with a lot of work to do after he went cartwheeling down the back straightaway and now putting that car into reverse. That's an interesting tactic there. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could put those in reverse, honestly. I don't think you can actually do that in real life. But anyways, moving on. Let me ask you this, Nolan. You're a little bit more of a dirt expert than I. Does that track look fresh to you at all, or do you think we had the same state?
Yeah, I honestly think it's about the same state that we had for the next time around, and I think that's what these guys are going to have to be struggling with. You had seen them trying to work it out all throughout that 5-minute warm-up session to work that track. And you can see Baldwin trying to still work that outside lane in here on the base laps.
Yeah, and that is one of the really fun things to watch, especially dirt oval racing, is about the real racing here, is just the dynamics of the track surface, Nolan.
And we'll have to keep eyes on that one as we get set to go race for 35 laps. Meanwhile, in the hands of Eric Whitner through turn number 4, green flags out, we are underway. Good getaway from Whitner once again. 3 wide for 2nd place in turn number 2. Crashing behind, 2 cars, 1 hard to the wall, it's the big one. Off of turn number 2, down the back straightaway, at least half your field collected in this one.
Well, I guess I was wrong, Nolan. I said about 10 laps before we get to the caution flag, and we got less than 8 laps. So let's see what caught that out, though. That took out quite a few cars, at least from our vantage point here.
There were 2 separate incidents. One was with Aiden Forster and Paul Mikolajczyk, and they spun around in turn number 2. And then there was a separate incident that involved Josh Evanson and Matthew Lind up the road off turn number 2. There's one that happened with Mikolajczyk first, and he got clipped, actually, by Baldwin after he got turned by Forster. And then, of course, you had Daniel Age with just absolutely nowhere to go. And this was the contact there with the number 3 car. That's what sent that number 3 hard up into the outside wall as Matthew Lind had collided with Josh Evanson as he was coming up the racetrack. He went face first to the outside wall. And the guys that were still wrecked from that first wreck just piled into him. And then you had this mess. That was for the race lead down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. That was Eric Whitner almost getting caught up there with the likes of Sean Winkler.
Yeah, a lot of carnage there on the first lap for sure, and that makes a lot more sense what happened to 3 there. That's quite a hard hit. I don't think these drivers have a fast repair here, Nolan, so I think any damage you take is going to be permanent here for the rest of the night, especially if you're a driver like Mikolajczyk that got clipped like that. It's definitely going to hurt your car for the rest of the evening. Now, remember, these caution laps are not going to count, so just puts a few more laps on these tires and changes the dynamic just a little bit more.
Pace truck is down, and then coming to the conclusion of our opening lap of the night, we still have to try to see if we can figure something out here and get these guys rolling for the next few laps here. Green flag's back in the air. Single file starts because we didn't get it going. We're back underway. Can we make it a lap this time around? Answer, probably not, as we got one up and over in turn number 2. Daniel H is upside down, but no caution will take the tow. We're back to green flag racing then as H will reset back to the road. His race is over.
Yeah, the Australian, they're really looking for a better effort here tonight after a few rough weeks here to start the season. Not what he was looking for there. You kind of mentioned it, got caught up with another driver and went up and over. Luckily, he was able to take the reset, so he stayed green flag racing here, but not the night Ace was looking for sure.
Whitner is running away with the race lead as you look back to one of our battles deeper in the field. This is for 7th, 8th, and 9th at the moment. You've got Dylan Baldwin heading up the pack of 3. Aiden Forster get up into the outside wall, trying to ride that wall all the way around the top shelf with Matthew Lind right down there at the bottom, sitting last place on the racetrack. And oh, trouble! Aiden Forster into the wall. He's going to collect Matthew Lind. And will this be a yellow flag? Looks like no. We keep it green, and now Eric Whitner will be lapping both of those drivers that just collided off of turn 4.
I will say, though, one thing here that maybe is working against Whitner a little bit as we see Edmondson trying to chase him down there in the background is that anytime he's gotten up to lap traffic, it's significantly affected his lap times. We saw there that McFarland was able to catch up to him in the heat race, so we'll see how he's able to navigate traffic for the rest of the laps.
Big trouble with Daniel H, with actually, it was Aiden Forster. He's kind of got in with Eric McFarland and turned the car hard down, and kind of collided with some of the infield equipment there, including one of the light posts, but obviously no damage visits on those light posts, and thank goodness, because we are getting set to race into the sunset here. It's a messy feature then from Fairbury, considering you've only got a 10-car field.
Yeah, only 10 cars, but still a lot of carnage. I thought maybe the small field size would give some of these opportunities to drivers farther back in the pack, like maybe an Aish or even a Winkler, some of these drivers that don't get to get up there towards the top 5, top 3 a lot of the time. This would give them the opportunity, but really it's just drivers like Whitner, Edmondson, McFarland that continue to run away with this series every single week.
Whitner is entering this race 8th place in points, 236. Aiden Forster's 294. With the points leader now out of the race tonight, this is going to be big for these guys. They can try to get themselves sorted, and seeing Eric Whitner skyrocketing at least into the top 5 in the point standings exiting the race tonight. Looks like Josh Edmondson, fitting stand as they are, he'll be the one to walk away with the points lead at the end of race number 3 here at Fairbury to break the tie with himself and Sean Winkler, who is still running way back in that 5th position. Up to the top shelf is that all-black machine taking around the top side of 3 and 4. That's Josh Fox that just got around Evan McFarlane for 3rd.
McFarland for 3rd, and a really good job by Edmondson. He kind of mentioned earlier he's been battling for that lead of the points with Sean Winkler, and just been a matter of showing up every single week and then also just running consistently as well. It really hasn't been up there mixing it up for wins, but it's just been up there in the top 3, top 5 all week long. And I don't know about you here, but does Fox's wing keep disappearing for you?
Seems like it might be a visual glitch on that one there, as it's kind of popping in and out whenever that back end clips the wall, which implies, whoa, hello, up and over into the wall. No caution. He's going to collide with McFarlane. It might be a yellow flag now. McFarlane up on his side. Caution waves, and Evan McFarlane will hang on to the 4th position. I was just mentioning that might be a signal that is close to losing it with how much damage is going to accumulate on these cars over time, but it looked like Josh Fox just clipped the back tire wrong on that wall. It hooked him in. He went up on his side, and then poor McFarlane, nowhere to go. You can't correct that quickly when you're on the throttle on corner exit.
Oh yeah, especially on the exit too. You're pretty much all the way in the throttle and sliding the car at that point, so there's really not much adjustment there. And you mentioned it just kind of caught the back tire there, Nolan, and just threw him into the wall. It's so easy to do because you want to run right on that razor's edge, but that's the price that you pay sometimes.
Let's run down to your field here for a minute as we have 15 laps to go. It is Whitner from Edmondson, Fox, Winkler, Mikolajczyk, McFarlane, Baldwin, and Matthew Lynn so far for the drivers on the racetrack. Forster and Aish both being tagged as DNFs for now. Baldwin and Lynn both sit 1 lap down as well. So Eric Whitner will hold the lead, but he had built up a fairly sizable gap. That gap is now gone. He's going to have to work hard in his Speed Shop 51 machine to see if he can try to keep that car up in the race lead here.
And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be anyway as we go back to green flag racing here. We're going to have 15 laps to go, and it's been all Whitner up to this point. I don't really think, unless Edmondson starts doing something different, he's going to have anything for him. But look at the high side run now by Fox.
Josh Fox taking it right up to the wall, trying to be bold just like he did. But remember, it was that move that kind of assisted and triggering our 2nd yellow flag on the night. Trying to take away 2nd place with Josh Edmondson. You've got Eric Whitner covering off the bottom. Not sure if that outside lane's got to see whether it'd be worth it. Oh, maybe it does. Edmondson losing out to 2nd as Fox wants the top side now, looking to challenge for the race lead down to the turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, and Whitner must know something that we don't know because he keeps going down to that low side, and it really looks like Fox has the idea here at the high side. Now Whitner moves up. This can allow Edmondson to move to the inside as well. A 3-way battle here for the lead, Nolan.
Trying to throw it up the middle is Josh Fox, side by side for the race lead down to the turns 1 and 2, but there's no grip in the middle groove, and now Whitner's back to the top shelf. 9 laps to go, this time by as Josh Fox continues to apply the pressure on Eric Whitner, and they are starting to catch up the lap traffic. Dylan Baldwin points out to the pit road. Oh, one up and over, turn number 2.
Looks like that's Mikolajczyk there. He got up and over and able to hang on to it so far. Yellow flag's going to come out, but that was a big wreck there for the 65.
Solo wreck at that. We'll look to the Racecraft replay as this crash coming out on lap 27 of your Marconi Setup Shop feature. Just like Josh Fox did, clipped the wall, rode up the side, front wing digs in and kicks the car up and over. It looks like the back of that car, and in fact the whole underside, may have actually scraped along the catch fencing there, so we'll have to watch some suspension damage. He did land on all 4s though, and managed to get the car rolling again.
Yeah, able to get it rolling at least, but he's already had a little bit of damage there to the rear tires with that earlier incident he had where Baldwin clipped him, and now this flip is definitely not going to be helping the handling characteristics of his sprint car here this evening. But we'll give him a little bit of credit here, doing a good job hanging on to what he's hanging on to so far with all those incidents here tonight still.
Breaking news for Josh Fox. He does have a black flag looming over him. Now, that is post-race penalties that get applied. You don't have any sort of drive-through or stop-and-hold penalties in the pits here, because you can't pit with these cars, right? It's go to the end. So that is going to be big. Josh Fox is going to have to break clear for the lead of them. I'd imagine clear by several seconds if he wants to see if he can maybe mitigate that penalty and walk away with a race win. Josh Fox trying to chase it down near winner, but he's into the wall in turn number 2, trying to charge after the number 71 car for that race lead, while it's the likes of Josh Evanson to shoot it back to the bottom.
I will say it's really unfortunate for Fox there having the black flag. It definitely changes the mentality, but at this point, if you're the 121, why not just go for broke? You know, it really doesn't matter at this point. I mean, I'm not saying take anybody out or anything like that, but it allows you to be a lot more aggressive with the race car. Maybe try some things you wouldn't try before, Nolan.
Pushing right up to the back Nerf bar then of the number 71 car as he tries to get himself sorted, and off goes the wing of Eric Whitner, popping back into existence then as telekinetic powers and caution is back out, and it looks like Sean Winkler, the primary cause of this one, might have gotten into with Evan McFarlane, it looks like, and potentially some good old tractor tires. So we'll take a look at this one. Loose off of 4, clips McFarlane, then slides down, pops the front wheels up, and, well, you're just a passenger at that point, aren't you?
Wow, he got the triple tap there. He got 2 tires and the light pole. That's pretty impressive. You don't see that every day, Nolan.
3 tires, actually. He got the one on the inside, then, of course, the light pole, and then he,
oh, yeah, I guess
unfortunately throttled it up into a third one. That's what got him stopped.
Tire there too, and I will say, while we got a little bit of time here, the wings tonight are kind of reminding me of like Schrodinger's wing. Like if you look at it and observe it, it exists, but if you're not looking at it, it doesn't. I think that's just what we have going on here right now.
A watch pot never boils, or in this case, a watched rear wing never leaves.
But if you do look away, it does leave. It's a quantum wing. So, anyways, 5 laps to go here. 5-lap shootout for the end of the race.
The driver's trying to get around some downforce restrictions that we clearly aren't quite aware of, it would seem. Eric Whitner jumps on the loud pedal. We're back to green flag racing. Going to be 4 laps left to go from Fairbury.
You know, I will say, though, I think if he gave Whitner the chance here, if he could drive this sprint car without a wing, he would, because it would just give him that much more speed. And you've seen how he's wheeled it just all night long. Again, just almost out to another second gap here with just a lap under our belt.
Josh Fox clipped the outside wall off of turns 2, 4, then 2 again, and now 4 again. He's had a horrible restart. He's lost second place. He dropped all the back and forth. The fight's on for second place here as Josh Evanson and Evan McFarlane try to duke it up amongst themselves. We come down, though, to the white flag. Final lap for Eric Whitner as he takes it around through turn numbers 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway, no competition from behind. Eric Whitner wins the race here in Fairbury for the Racecraft Outlaws Sprint Car Series.
A dominant run from Eric all night long. Really no other way to put it. Just dominated the heat race, came in here into the feature, and even with the yellows that we had come out, said really composed on every single restart, got out to a huge gap, and then just never looked back.
That's the thing about, shorter tracks like these, though, isn't it? You can really jump the lead here early on. There's just nothing these guys can do about it, as you can see by the gaps alone. 8.5 tenths separated from Eric Whitner and Evan McFarlane with Josh Evanson. Sean Winkler will pick up 4th, 6 seconds back after, of course, Josh Fox got himself a penalty that saw him put to the tail of the lead lap. Paul Mikolajczyk rounds out the top half of the field. From there, Josh Fox with his penalty probably gets him to 6th with Matt Lind 1 lap down. In 7th, Dylan Baldwin, 8th, 4th, and Daniel Aish, all marked as DNFs in your 3rd race on the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series season.
That was just a pretty quick race, I will say, Nolan. That went by in a flash, and we're gonna get some podium interviews here in just a second, and as the sun sets here on our beautiful Fairbury, Illinois sunset here in the Midwest. But just a great day of racing so far, pretty much for everybody, and I guess we're wrapped up now. But I will look forward to next week. We go to I think 2 weeks, excuse me, when we go to Eldora. But that's all she wrote here for tonight.
Of course, you still got the podium drivers I'd like to talk to as well before we get things fully wrapped up. But Race in Action, you are correct, is completely done for today. And why don't we start to talk to some of those podium drivers? We'll start it off with race winner Eric Whitner, who was just a dominant force that could not be beat tonight. Eric, you won the heat race in dominant fashion, and of course, even more so in the feature. It looked like all your game there was on the restarts.
Yeah, I mean, I was set up full force for the bottom, and I saw Josh come in up top, and when the marbles pushed up, and I had to try and make it work, so I just kind of babied it around the top, and kind of worked.
Obviously, though, with your ability to just gap the field on restarts here, it did help you to get some significant track positions. You didn't have to worry about any initial attacks there on the restarts, or in fact, the initial starts of these races. How important would you say is it to be able to get that sort of a great launch at tracks like these ones where the turns just fly up on you so quickly?
Honestly, it's just good starts. I mean, I attribute my setup to really helping on those restarts late race, because I mean, I had a higher gear in to run the bottom. It kind of helped when I got down in that tack, just got a little bit more of a run going in the corner, and then just babied it around, just kept it straight as possible. But I mean, restarts are everything, especially if I wasn't first. Those restarts would have been crucial too.
Obviously, entered this race 8th place in points, but with this race win and several of the main title contenders having encountered some wrecks earlier on, you're going to be rocketed up to the point standings. Does this bode well for your bids to go for the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just here to have some fun. I mean, I'm concentrating on Pro Series right now, so I really did this to get some laps under my belt at this track. Not quite sure if I'll really mess with championship standings, but I'll come race every once in a while and have some fun.
And well, thank you for joining us tonight here then, Eric, and congratulations on the race win. Best of luck next week when we swing out to Eldora.
Thank you.
That was Eric Whitner joining us up here in Victory Lane, as we'll move on down to the second place driver, Evan McFarland. Ian, you're standing by with our runner-up.
Well, Evan, really in that last 5 laps there, you found something. You're able to get past Josh Edmondson there for second place. Talk to us a little bit how the track wore in throughout the night and what you found there in that last 5 laps.
Well, obviously, I was really slow at the start. I feel like our setup was really good for when the track came in, and I started figuring something out in the middle after that first caution, and I just ran it and felt really fast, really good, and yeah.
So we were talking to our race winner, Eric, here tonight, and he said he wasn't too concerned about the championship. You know, it's just something he does to get a little bit more practice on his off time here. But you found yourself 8th place coming into the series tonight. And what does this bode for your championships hope going forward? And what do you look for the rest of the season?
Well, I really think this point finish really helped me in the championship. And possibly if I perform well enough, I could maybe, get in the top 3, maybe first.
Well, next time we'll see you here, we go to Eldora. What are you looking forward to there, and what can you do to improve on your second place finish there?
I feel like probably more practice time, and then also helping with my teammates and setups. I'm really looking forward to Eldora because we have a good setup for the top, and it's really exciting running at Eldora.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time up here to come and talk to us in the Racecraft TV booth. Congratulations on that second place finish there, Evan.
Thank you.
That was Evan McFarland finishing second place here this evening, Nolan from Fairbury. And I believe you're standing by with our third place finisher. It's Racecraft TV's own Josh Edmondson.
And Josh, you were almost at the point where you wouldn't be able to talk to us tonight had it not been for Josh Fox's penalty that saw him tumbling down towards the tail end. But of course, it kind of botched his own restarts when he let you guys up in a second and third after hitting the wall so many times. But you're kind of right in the thick of all the main battles going on all throughout the race tonight. Why don't you walk us through that 35-lap feature from your end?
Oh man, yeah, it was an intense race for me. I was committed to the bottom. For one reason, I didn't want to go to the top and hit the wall like some of those guys were doing. I was really struggling with that in practice and stuff. I'm pretty new to this, so I didn't have the confidence to run up top. It was faster up there. I saw Josh Fox catch us, and he passed me before that last caution, and then, yeah, he hit the wall. So, it's just how it goes up there, and I'm pretty happy with third. I was definitely not expecting to be up here after qualifying in the practice sessions. I was struggling a lot.
course, the way it works at Fairbury, it's a bit unique, isn't it? You got a very wide racetrack, but a very small distance to work with that width around. It's really a track unlike almost any others. I would say the only one that really comes close is that of Lima Land. How is this track playing into your strengths, or even more so, I guess, how would it play into your weaknesses if you would say you had a bit of struggles in qualifying there?
Well, it would have helped if I dumped the fuel too in qualifying, but no, I just think it's more seat time. Yeah, I bought the track yesterday and I've been putting some laps in, so I'm pretty new to the dirt oval side in general. I'm just trying to learn a lot from these guys that have been doing it a while, and I actually do got to thank Paul and Eric and those guys have given me some tips. Even Josh Fox gave me some today too that definitely helped me. So these guys that have that experience are willing to share the knowledge, and that's cool.
And of course, then you've got the likes of Eldora coming on up next. And Eldora is a very opposite track to that of Fairbury. It's very high speeds, but it does still keep the width aspect of things. But that being said, it can tighten up in a hurry. What's the plan as we get set to swing back over to Eldora?
Well, I actually do have some laps there. I've owned that track for a long time on the sim and raced there randomly. So I definitely hope to be in the mix there. I'm not sure what line will be the fastest, but I'm just going to try and learn as much as I can from those guys and hopefully run up there again with them.
And well, thank you for joining us tonight then here, Josh. Congratulations on a third place finish, and best of luck when we swing out to Eldora next week.
Right on. Yep. Thanks, guys.
That was Josh Evanson joining us up here in the booth from third place. That's going to wrap it up then for your podium finishers. And Ian, once again, an exciting race as always here from the the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series. And it's one of those series where it doesn't matter how small the field is, you can still put on an entertaining race. We saw it at Lucas Oil Speedway. We saw it at Evolution the week before. We're going to be seeing that Eldora the week after. What do you think we can expect to see as we get set to go racing? One of the fastest dirt tracks you can get out there.
Well, I'm looking forward to Eldora personally. You know, it's one of those crown jewels of dirt oval racing. Every single driver, whether it's in real life or on the sim, I mean, that's one of the places you go. You think of names like Daytona, Indianapolis. Well, Eldora is that for dirt racing, basically. I would put it up there with tracks like Knoxville and maybe some of those others like that. So when these drivers come out here next week, I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more amped up than maybe they have been all season long. It should be a really great show.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's going to be a great show indeed as we get set to swing on out to the Eldora Speedway. But for now, from the Fairbury Speedway, it's time for us to say farewell. My name is Madola Rempo with Ian Fish beside me at the broadcast booth, and Josh Woolley down behind the cameras, doing an excellent job as always for tonight's race. Thank you for joining us for more Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series action. And join us same time, same place next week when we go set to go racing for race number 4.
Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway and I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairground Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to McConeySetupShop.com and learn why McConey Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.